Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerers Guild. Today on Sorcerer's Shadow Volume 2, we are going to be talking about how to protect your blood, or how to make it someone else's problem if they have a lock of your hair. Okay, so before we get into that, I do want to acknowledge that we are skipping ahead in the book. As I said in the last update, with my mother's passing, I'm not really in the mood to talk about necromancy or ancestry work, so we'll get back to that. In the meantime, we are going to start the discussions on blood magic, and we're skipping ahead a bit there because this bit about protecting your blood is actually in the first essay about vampiracy. But we're going to bring the first part of that up here to the front of blood magic because it's an important discussion, and it's very important in a practical matter. Okay, so first we're going to talk about how to protect your blood, and then we'll discuss how to make it someone else's problem if they have a lock of your hair. And then we'll finish off with a little bit about some of the nuances of that sort of thing. Okay, so even on this channel, of course, we've talked a lot about using blood, hair, other body fluids, etc. You never know where someone might get their hands on or in before they've become your enemy. So we've talked a lot about using these types of links to perform spell work on someone. We haven't talked a lot about blocking this particular thing. And it's as easy as understanding that that link belongs to you. You are connected to any DNA marker on your body. Your fingernail clippings, your hair, your blood, these are all connected to you. And people can create links through them. But they're yours. They belong to you. So, if someone takes your hair and puts it in a spell bottle, I've actually done previous videos about this, but if someone takes your hair and puts it in a spell bottle, especially if you know that they had your hair, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk first about how to protect your blood, hair, and DNA in the first place. Like I said, it's as simple as knowing that it is under your control and you own it. But to make this more cohesive and to put a finer point on it, I suggest using a little bit of blood magic with your personal sigil. Now, my own personal sigil has also changed with a bit of what's going on, so I actually have to update my own marker of this nature. But what you do is first you will write your personal sigil. As I said, mine has changed a bit. This will actually be the first unveiling of my new personal sigil. Well, not completely, because I have connected more with Yarvo, and I've used the sigil a bit there. We'll talk about that more in the Who is Yarvo video, which will be coming up very soon. But in the meantime, my deeper connection to that has altered my personal sigil. To look like this. And that will be used for a few more things in the future, but for now, that is my personal sigil that we are updating. And then the next thing you do is a little bit of blood magic. Now, this isn't something that requires a whole lot of blood. Most blood magic does not require a whole lot of blood. We're not going to be talking about anything that's bleeding yourself, and we're not going to be talking about any blood magic using anyone else's magic, as I talk about in the book. This will all be about using your own. Anyways, you take your personal sigil after you have drawn it, and then you get a diabetic pin. These are perfect. This is what I recommend you use. It's just the lancet from a diabetic thing. You can even get the little things where it stabs you for you. That's fine. But what we do is poke the tip of the finger, like so. Go in until you feel a good sharp prick because you want to get it all in the first go. And there you go. Just a bit of blood. And then you charge that, and then you use that to charge your personal sigil with the intent that all of your DNA links of your blood, hair, DNA, etc. is under your will and under your control. And you charge the sigil with that by coating it in your blood. Okay, and then after that, if you're not into the idea of hanging on to it, you actually can just burn it, because you can do this again in the future if you don't mind poking yourself. Or you can do like I intend to do and put this on your altar. But this isn't somewhere you just go sticking in view on your altar. This is an ace in the sleeve kind of thing. You hide this somewhere under your altar. And now, anytime anyone tries to affect you with your DNA links, it'll be under your will and under your control. Now, what do you do if someone has stolen a lock of your hair? Well, for one, if you know it's a lock of your hair, you can focus on that lock of hair, on that fingernail clipping, whatever it is, if you know what they took. But if you just feel that someone has taken something, or you have very good reason to suspect that someone has, get out the personal sigil with that little bit of your blood on it and use that as the focal point to go forward. If you know what it is, use both. Use that sigil in your, use the sigil with that intent on it, and focus on the lock of hair that is connected to you. Yeah? And astral project or will yourself, if you're not good at astral projecting. This is mostly just a focus of will. And imagine yourself connecting to your DNA link. Now, if you reach it and it's a spell bottle, if you can't sense for sure what it is you're reaching, that depends on your skill level. If you can sense where that piece of your, where that thing you were linked to is. If you can't sense anything except for the link itself, what you want to do is then will that anything happening to that piece of you is reflected back at the caster, and then sever the link. Do a stick breaking, a cord cutting if you need to on the link when you get back, but sever the link so that it cannot come back to you and can only be projected to them. And like I said, come back, do a stick breaking or a cord cutting. If you can determine what it is, if you can sense that it is in some type of a spell bottle, you can do the exact same thing. You can even add extra nastiness to it. You can do that the other way as well, but if you can get a link to that hair and then come back and draw a new sigil, you can use that sigil to project into the jar and push whatever intent they had at them, whatever intent they had to you at them through the jar whenever you wish. Or cut it off. Now, if it turns out to be a doll, well, now you have an avatar of yourself on their altar that they have already acknowledged as being you, because that's how a puppet or doll works. Now you have an avatar of yourself on their altar, which you can use to cast anything you desire by focusing on that, and then focusing on that doll as the release point to cast the spell, as if you were in the room with them, or in their altar room at the very least. Okay, last one. If it's a mirror box, sever the link. Yeah? A mirror box is one of them end game things. There's things you can do, try to short circuit it. The first time someone tried to put me in a mirror box, that's what I did because I didn't understand quite what to do. Is I put a loop in it and tried to create a short circuit thing, but that's all very complex and not necessary. Sever the link. Boom. There you go. It was under your will anyways. If it is your will that you are not connected to that mirror box, then you are not connected to that mirror box. Easy as that. Same thing if they put you in war water. Well, that's more about the spell bottle thing, but the war water, if it's war water, definitely make sure you cut the link because there's a lot of connection there. If they've put your DNA link in war water, make sure you do the severing. Okay, so like I said, we're going to get into some of the nuances of all this. What do you do if you've cursed somebody or cast a spell on them? They've with their hair, they've figured it out and taken over the bottle. Well, like I said, it belongs to them. So, if someone has figured this out and knows this trick, it's kind of that whole thing is kind of an end game. Put the bottle in a mirror box or get rid of it. Forcing them to, you put it in the mirror box, just forcing them to sever the link and keeping it contained. Or wrap it up in black cloth and destroy it. Get rid of it. And make sure you sever your links to it. If it's a doll, get rid of it. Put it in a mirror box and get rid of it if you can. Sever your links to the doll. Destroy it. Make sure, like I said, it's just an end game. Once they figured that part out, if you make a doll of them, there are ways to twist back and forth and stuff, but in the end, they have the upper hand. If you think someone has taken over the doll that you have of them, gotta get rid of the doll. Cut your links to it, get rid of the doll, make sure the spell's no longer functioning. If you've made a mirror box of someone and they figured it out, well, if they're silly and try to short circuit it and all that stuff, you can twist little weird games with them all you want. But if they've severed the link, well, the box just is no good. And that's all there is to it. Anyways, I think that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. Until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.